What's the worst thing you've tolerated to avoid confrontation? My flatmate will put my earphones in my food cupboard to tidy them away, but then leave all his dishes about the kitchen and living room. Not the worst. I used to have a roommate and all she ate was fettuccine alfredo for all 3 meals a day. And she'd only eat half of it and just leave the bowl sitting there. So there were just bowls of half-eaten pasta scattered around the house, and if we asked her to clean it she'd get upset and yell at us for making her do all the work. Yet if anyone else in the house had even a speck of dust near them she'd come in screaming, calling us lazy, telling us how horrible it was for her to live in such a mess. Once she tried to have me kicked out of the house for leaving a half-full can of pop lying around that she knocked over and spilled. It was half full because I'd just opened it and was in the middle of drinking it. Meanwhile there's f-king fettuccine everywhere. An emotionally abusive relationship where I was constantly on edge because almost every single conversation resulted in an argument or me being put down. One night he had a huge fight with my mother, and I still went home with him. I immediately texted her to say he was being an asshole and that I actually agreed with her. But I didn't want to deal with the stress of him picking a fight with me about it. That was probably the defining moment that made me start to reflect and realize the relationship was unhealthy. My MSc supervisor taking 6 months to return drafts. By repeatedly doing this, he extended the time it took by 3 years. Eventually the department chair got wind of this and kicked his ass into gear. I wish I'd approached the chair sooner, well, at all. My current work situation as of Tuesday. As part of my job I handle the timesheets for my office and my co-worker checks them to see if everything is recorded correctly. If I make a mistake, I understand I need correction, but the way she's been handling it lately has been too much. Now instead of calling me over to her desk, she just lectures me in front of the entire office. Then sometimes she complains to subs about me within earshot, pretty much repeating what she said very loudly to my face. She's even made me cry once. But that was more frustration, honestly. I'm an angry crier. I say as of Tuesday because the last blow up over a timesheet error that I handled on my own was one too many. I finally had too much and told my sup it was bothering me. I'm hoping she can meditate between us so I don't start to panic every time I hear my co-worker say a certain way. My father's wedding. Absolutely hate his wife. Her kids. She's a witch and that's not even biased. She's the type to go out of her way to lie in court in a case she has nothing to do with to make people miserable. He basically blackmailed my sibling and I to come to the wedding, which we were informed of a week prior as an important event and the night before as his actual second wedding, or he would never come to ours in the future. Yeah. Kinda wish I was a confrontational person. Just this one time. It would have been glorious. Oh, and then he didn't inform my mother of it. See, we kept the secret for another 2 years until he slipped up. Not my story to tell. And that was a conversation I didn't want to have. You guys shouldn't be allowed to become NICU nurses unless you've had a premature baby yourself. Obviously from a mom in the worst moment of her life. We get a lot of horrible comments or tongue lashing from parents who are just scared, frustrated or mad. I can't retaliate or say anything I might want to say. So we just sit quietly and say we're sorry they're in this situation. An Uber driver who rambled on and on to me that women shouldn't work, should cook and raise kids. Said repeatedly how his engineer daughter was a disappointment because she works and has his grandkids in daycare. This was shortly after a woman, told him I was traveling for work. I just nodded along praying my hotel was closer. Can't even be proud of his daughter? Damn. That's cold. Right now I'm tolerating an ex-roommate treating their GF and my close friend, separate people, like absolute tea. Emotionally abusing and manipulating them. It's terrible and I hate. However, they live quite a ways away from me and as things stand confronting him about it will only make things worse for the people I care about. So for right now all I can do is my best to be there for them and support them until they find a way to get away from him. It's terrible. And I hate it. And I wish I could just rip him a new one. But I've dealt with people like him before and I know he'll just take it out on everyone else and they won't be able to handle that right now. My driving instructor used to debate me on Islam versus Christianity, though I'm not sure why. I'm agnostic. Of course I was completely fine with this. In fact, as a Welsh-born and bred village lad living in a big multicultural city for the first time, I found it fascinating. He was a fantastic instructor and clearly a good dude. But at one stage he tried his best to convince me that the Charlie Hebdo shooting was justified. I've never been so glad to be in a situation where eye contact is actively dissuaded. At my current job, my team leader was horrible to me when I started. Cruel to the point of being abusive. Normally I would not tolerate that for 1 second, but I had just left a job I had been at for 16 years and I needed this one until I could find another. It was incredibly difficult to take it without retaliating. I needed him to teach me what he knows. I am a welder and the company has no blueprints for anything. Now they have laid off the other guy in my department, so it is just me and him, and now he needs me. So he has been very nice. The company is in the process of drawing up blueprints for everything, and with my 25 years of welding and fabrication experience I will no longer need him at that point, and since I continually work him under the table on a daily basis I may just have his job soon. I woke up to my best friend assaulting me in my sleep, but I'll let him go on until he was finished because I was horrified at the idea of confronting him. I'm so sorry that happened. That must have been incredibly traumatic. Your body probably went into survival mode. People always remember fight or flight. But freeze is the third option your body has when faced with something dangerous or traumatic. I hope you're doing okay. Some of my family members are super vocal about their political beliefs and constantly bash on the other party, calling them idiots, saying people who believe those things should be jailed, burn in hell, etc. I happen to be of the opposite political party, so whether or not they realize it, they're insulting their own family member to my face. I don't say anything because I don't want to make holiday gatherings awkward. My childhood best friend. She was a toxic pathological liar, and once I stopped falling for her bullshit she just used me for kicks and smoked with my brother. There were a few moments where cumulative feelings finally built up and me putting my foot down came off as being the bad guy. She'd re-enter my life at any old time she felt like it. Never acknowledged me when we went to the same school because she had a reputation to uphold. I would have left earlier if she wasn't my only friend. And we basically only petered out just after high school. A family member's alcoholism. I actively avoid being around that person. Sexual harassments from another student from my high school while working on a promotional set for a movie. Working with people who get their opinions from Facebook and Twitter. There's a few examples for me, but the worst come down to putting up with routine physical assault. Church. I've been an atheist for quite some time now, but my family doesn't know. So sometimes, on visits home, I get roped into going to church with them. It's excruciating but better than family strife. People always talk over me and honestly it's making me really sad. Pretty much every bad thing that's happened to me, I take confrontation avoidance to a whole new level. A girl at school that I had never seen in my life kept calling me creepy when I was just eating my lunch, minding my own business and not talking. So I called her a bitch. I then get called to the principal's office and I'm the one who gets suspended. I tell the principal that she's the one who started it, that I wasn't doing anything. He starts going on about how that girl is a sweet person who would never call an innocent person creepy, and that I did something to creep her out. This made me rage inside. I wanted to cuss that principal out and destroy his office, but that would get me kicked out. No idea how I managed to tolerate that, but I guess I did. 2 years of Bible study with Jehovah's Witnesses. Because saying no, thank you was not my strong suit. I'm an atheist. I tolerated a bitchy ass girlfriend for 3 years and she had absolutely no qualms about making a scene, especially in public. I grew to hate confrontation and would do anything I could to placate her. Several times one of family would be like, why are you taking that shit from her? And I'd try to rationalize it to myself. Made me realize I was raised a certain way and wasn't being true to my values. But when I started dating again, I didn't and still don't give many FCKs about avoiding confrontation, because working through the issues causing it are more beneficial than just doing whatever you can just to sweep it under the rug. Not even just relationships. I got outed as trans at work. I work in retail and the even tiniest of rumors spreads like wildfire. I've been on T for years. Had top surgery. And got my legal name and SX changed. But all that success and happiness can be nullified by one person. I told my manager about it and just ignored it, because at this point there's really nothing I can do. I'm currently living with my abuser. And my mom protects him. And I am sure working my way out of here. Years ago I was at a family Thanksgiving dinner at my dad's cousin's house. Her now deceased husband was a bigot, a misogynist, and an overall conservative asshole. I had to sit across from him while he drunkenly berated my mother. Told her that women should not have the right to vote. And were nothing more than home and baby makers. He used some rather colorful language in the process. I was ready to leap across the table and beat the shit out of him, but my mother tried to keep me in check. I admittedly lost a little respect for both my parents that day for keeping the peace and making me play along, but I gave that a shat uncle no time whatsoever, even when he was dying of cancer. It's the one time in my life that I wish that I had both said and done something severe and against the family norm. I'm not racist, but I think black and white people produce disgusting looking children. And I think the Germans did what they had to get the money back from those people. Religious preachings from ex parents. My dad's homophobic views. My first grapefruit. I was at my friend's house and asked if I could have one of their really big oranges. His mom said it was a grapefruit and I was like, oh that's fine. She warned me that I wouldn't want it straight, but let me have one anyway. I suffered through eating the whole thing with a straight face while she was giggling at me from the kitchen. 20 years later. I still don't understand who buys whole grapefruit for their house. Why wouldn't you buy a whole grapefruit? That's how you eat it. We eat straight up grapefruit all the time. When high school was actually a physical thing, there was this guy who used to annoy me a lot. And he knew it. And continued it. He even tried to cut bonds with my group of friends I had for years because I was depressed. Yes, I was going through some times. For some reason this guy finds being sad disgusting, I guess. One day happened where he shoved my bag off of a table and broke my flask. At that point, I looked up swiftly and clenched my eyes and fist so hard that I swear I saw an angel through the figment of my imagination had held me back from picking up something and leaving him with an emergency hospital rush and me at the back of a police car going to the nearest juvenile detention center. Lost a bet. I'd go skinny dipping in the city pool or French kiss my brother. I chose to go skinny dipping. I did not know that they had just drained the pool. I only noticed that until I jumped in. My ass hit the concrete. Tit smacked me in the face. Had a sprained tailbone for a month. The shitty grin on my friend's face. That arsehole knew the pool was drained. If you're wondering if I would have rather kissed my brother than have a broken ass, you're f***ing insane. Also, the bet was if someone liked me or not. I said no because honestly, who in their right mind would like me? How did you not see the absence of water right as you walked up to the pool and jumped in? I hope that friend was instantly ex-friend. That was dangerous and cruel.